Get me Will Trent.
ABC Tuesday.
I don't even know where he is.
Will Trent is back.
You thought you could hide forever? Time to come home.
The series that's being called one of the best network procedurals.
We're going to solve this case.
Featuring new cast member Gina Rodriguez.
I'm a prosecutor. We deal in truth and facts.
Maybe everybody should try that, huh?
Will Trent, the 2-part season premiere, begins Tuesday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural Fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated T for Teen.
I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
This is Fish Jelly.
It sure in the hell is.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Okay.
Got some coffee.
This is our first recording in 2025.
A new year that I know is going to be just fantastic, right?
So happy New Year to everyone. Our recording schedule has been all, I don't want to say screwed up, varied.
Kitty Wampus.
Because of traveling and the holidays. So we're just so we can give you people the podcast on Sunday. Because sometimes when we post late Sunday, I would say like by 4:00, if it's not up, then the messages start coming.
Ring the alarm.
One day y'all gonna feel bad because I'm like, well, Nick died, so we didn't record.
Wow.
But since it's the new year, I think this will be the third year tradition that we go through our Letterboxd totals and our Apple Music replay data. So let's start with Letterboxd
data. Oh, let me pull that shit up. Sorry, I didn't know that was first.
Well, I'll go first. Right. So for 2024, I have 326 entries.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's pretty impressive. Not compared to your number though.
Oh, well, I mean,
what is your number?
1061.
So you watched a little more than 3 times the amount of films, which again, mentally ill. But you know, I'm going to go through mine quickly because I think it's fun to see
statistics.
Like, most watched actors, most watched directors. My statistics aren't as interesting as yours, so
I wouldn't say that. Come on.
My most watched actors. There are 5 with the same totals, and those are Giancarlo Esposito.
Interesting.
He had a busy year.
He did have a busy year, yeah.
Because I know if I can recall him being in that Abigail.
He's in Abigail. He's in
Megalopolis.
Maxine. Yes, we had 3 new movies this year.
Good for him. Michael Shannon.
He's always busy, yeah.
Diane Wiest, who you know I like.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson. But we know he stays busy.
He's been busy for a long time.
And Nicole Kidman.
She had a busy year too.
Yeah, so I've watched 5 films each.
Okay.
And then my top directors, there are 3 who I watched 3 films each. One is Francis Ford Coppola. I watched Megalopolis, Apocalypse Now. And what was the third one?
Peggy Sue Got Married.
That's right, which is so funny because I thought Peggy Sue Got Married was excellent. I gave Apocalypse Now 5 stars.
Yes.
And then he did It's so weird to think like...
And then Megalopolis.
I watched Apocalypse Now, and then a few months later, watched Megalopolis. Like, this is the same person?
Yeah.
And then 3 films of Tyler Perry's I watched.
Well, he's consistently bad, at least, so...
Yeah, he's consistent. And then Tim Burton. I watched 3 films each.
Good old Tim Burton.
So let's talk about your top actors.
So top actors, my number 1 slot with 13 films was Isabelle Huppert.
Okay.
No surprise there. Because I think she had 3 new releases, and then I've been rewatching a bunch of stuff that I haven't seen since I started keeping track of films in 2008. Samuel Jackson at number 2 with 12 films. Mickey Rourke at number 3 with 10 films.
Oh, shout out to Mickey.
And then I have 4 actors who I watched 9 films each of.
Okay.
Jessica Lange.
Good old Jessica.
Sigourney Weaver.
Of course.
Julia Roberts.
Beautiful teeth.
And Lawrence Fishburne.
Oh, good old Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, yeah.
And how about your directors?
The top slot with 9 films was Francis Ford Coppola.
Okay.
Because I was very excited for Megalopolis and wanted to rewatch, and there was some. There's some.
Imagine
stuff.
your disappointment.
I know, but and there was some. Yeah. Anyway, he was number 9 with 9 films. Then next at 5 films each, David Cronenberg and Paul Schrader.
What do I know from Paul? Master Gardener?
Yes.
Okay.
But he had a new film this year, Oh Canada, which I didn't love. But,
okay.
So I think I've seen almost all of his films that he directed except one now. And then I have many people at 4 films each.
We can run through those quickly.
Matthew Barney.
What do I know from them?
He did the Craymaster cycle. I don't think you've seen. He used to be married to Bjork. They had a retrospective.
Did you see a video recently, like over Christmas? Bjork was in her hometown. She's from Iceland.
Yes.
She was in some little town in Iceland doing a DJ set in like a little store.
Yeah,
like just randomly.
That tracks.
Playing like dance Christmas music.
Yeah, she's bored today. She's going to go to Costco and
yeah, I thought it was cute. Anyway, next.
Robert Altman.
What do I know?
Oh my God! Come to the Five and Dime, Jimmy.
Yes,
Jimmy.
yes.
Tons of films. What did I watch? Thieves Like Us. We did a podcast on
with
Shelley Duvall.
No, and then who's the really cute guy?
Keith Carradine.
Yes.
And then I know you watched The Player with me this year. Oh, and Shortcuts.
Shortcuts.
Mm-hmm. We did a Patreon review of that with. Remember Lily Tomlin hitting the kid, and you were very tickled.
No, she hit a kid.
Yeah, she's that waitress, and she hits a kid in the street.
Oh, I liked that movie.
Jennifer Jason Leigh.
But the earthquake.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, it's set in LA and there's an earthquake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did really like that movie. And then we ate at a restaurant we hadn't tried before in Los Feliz, some Mexican. No, we had been there before, but we never ate inside.
Yes.
We always ate outside, and the inside was pretty cute.
Mm-hmm. Akira Kurosawa at 4.
Work.
Guy Madden.
What do I know from Guy Madden?
We reviewed Rumors.
What's that?
With Kate Blanchett and remember the world leaders coming
together?
Oh,
the G7 summit? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
John Waters.
Okay.
Taylor Hackford.
Don't know who that is.
It's Helen Mirren's husband. He did...
I didn't even know she was married.
Yeah, for a long time. We did a podcast for Officer and a Gentleman.
Officer and a Gentleman.
Yeah, which Louis Gossett Jr. won his Oscar for.
Where he's the... All I remember is him.
Richard Gere, Deborah Winger.
That's right. And they make them do this like underwater breathing thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't care for it. That was the first time I'd seen it. Kiyoshi Kurosawa, a fantastic Japanese director who's, unlike Akira, it's alive. Woody Allen.
Known.
Mike
yes.
Lee.
Okay.
Pedro Almodovar.
Okay.
And Chantal Ackerman.
Got it. All right. Well, as usual, people, if they're not on Letterboxd, it's cool because you can see all of Nick's stats and what he rates stuff. Also, people are curious. Nick has a bad habit of rating films immediately.
A bad habit.
And then not linking the review weeks later when we actually post it. Mm-hmm. But if people want to get like a super spoiler, then that's an inside tip, is that Nick will rate movies the minute he sees them.
Yeah.
So if you really want to know if he liked a movie, you can just look on Letterboxd.
I suppose you can also guess kind of what we're going to do as the secret film for the podcast that way too.
Yeah, people want to really get involved. That's a good way to figure out what's coming. Okay, now moving on. Oh, also, people can stop asking if he's seen something because you can just go on his Letterboxd.
Well, to be fair, I've been keeping track since May of 2008 of everything I've watched. So anything I watched previous to that, I have not logged. I insist on rewatching it again.
I would ask that you reference Letterboxd first before you ask.
Sure. Because I get a lot of like, why isn't Godfather 2 rated? Because I haven't watched it since I was a child, even though I'm very Out of all the Coppola films that we watched this year, Godfather 2 and 3 were not any of them.
Moving on to Apple Music Replay 2024. Let's go through our top artist of the year. Mine are always kind of
I had a very random
same.
year. Yeah.
But who's your number 10?
An artist called Medusa, Meduzza, because I was listening to a remix of a song a lot.
Oh, I have that song. There was a Florence and the Machine song I like that they did. My number 10 is Bobby Brown.
Okay, tracks.
Who's your number 9 artist?
The Emerson String Quartet.
I don't know who that is.
There's this recording of Schubert's Death and the Maiden that I like to write to.
My number 9 artist is good old Mary J. Blige. Who's your number 8?
Lady Tron.
There's not a Ghost in Me. Destroy Everything You
Touch is
Touch.
a big one.
I like that song.
Ghosts is another one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a ghost in me.
Who wants to say I'm sorry?
My number 8 is good old Michael Jackson.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I know. Who's your number 8?
Lee Cabrera. Again, this was a remix.
I don't know what that is. Or who that is. My number 7 artist is Lady Gaga. And I'm not quite sure what I'm listening to, but I guess I'm listening to, I can't really name a Lady Gaga song I love that I played it so much, but.
Yeah, I haven't liked anything by her in a while.
Oh, you know what?
Maybe
it might
Telephone.
Be. Telephone, I'll get into a mood.
Sure, same.
I do like Rain on Me for some reason.
Yeah, I never got into that album.
Yeah. Okay, who's your number 7?
I think this person must be Swedish, but also it's a remix thing. Ika Klein.
Oh.
Elka Klein. I don't even know how to pronounce that person's name. But
well, sorry to this person. My number 6 artist is Cheryl Lynn. She sings Got to Be Real.
Oh, yes.
But that's not the song. She's my number 6 because of one song that we'll discover shortly. Who's your number 6?
My number 5.
Wait. Who was your number 6?
Ika Klein or something.
Oh, so did I mess up the order?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, well, okay.
No, we're not. We're on 5.
Who's your number 5?
Madonna.
Oh, I'm familiar.
Yeah, I know her.
My number 5, surprisingly, is Mariah Carey. But it's not a surprise because after I went to her concert over the summer, I was reminded of how many songs of hers I do like.
There was a spike.
So yeah, if you look at the micro data, I'm sure there's like a huge spike 2 weeks after the concert. Okay, your number 4?
Boy Harsher.
I don't know who that is.
Okay. Again, it's due to one song that was on repeat for months.
My number 4 is an artist people call Beyonce.
Oh, God. I wonder what she's like.
Yeah. I recently discovered, and I know I'm so late, but I listened to the Cowboy Carter album. And I do like Texas Hold'em and the Jolene remix. Sure. But she has some standards that I'll play at the gym. Who's your number 3 artist?
My top 3 are, the next 2, again, are due to one song. Somebody named Rebecca Warrior. Don't know anything about her, but she contributes to a song I listen to a lot.
My number 3 artist is the voice, Whitney Houston. I think after we watched that live concert at Alamo Drafthouse, I was binging specifically the Bodyguard soundtrack.
Well, that never gets old.
Well, I Have Nothing is such a great song. So I think it might be due to just me listening to I Have Nothing on repeat at the gym, getting teary-eyed. Anyway, who's your number 2 artist?
I've listened to them a lot outside of this song this year, but they're German and French. Compromat. I've referenced them before. They did that. They did the soundtrack for that weird film After Blue that we reviewed, where
yes, I remember
that Planet of Lesbians hunting Kate Bush.
Yeah. My number 2 is Madonna.
Okay.
Who's your number 1 artist?
Vitalik.
They have a song that I listen to called Pony
Part 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Do they do Carbonized?
Yes.
I also listen to Carbonized. Yeah.
On their Dissidents Volume 1 album. I was told by Apple Replay that I'm in their top 500 listeners.
Wow.
I had about 2,000 minutes of listening to them this year.
Wow.
That's a lot. I don't know how. I'm bad at math. What's 2,000 minutes?
2,000 minutes? Oh, God. I mean, it's...
How many days of my life did I?
Like 2 whole days, maybe?
2 days.
Maybe? I don't know. I'm blanking on the math. Of course, people can predict my number one artist. It's Janet Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her in concert 4 times this year,
And
or in 2024. So, of course.
And you're starting off the year kind of...
And I'm starting off the year strong by seeing her twice this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm sure she'll be my number one artist of 2025. Okay, and then we'll quickly go through the top 10 songs.
Okay.
Mine are going to be almost the same as last year, I think.
That's okay.
What's your number 10 song?
Pony Part 1 by Vitalik.
Oh.
Have you ever watched the music video for that with all the dogs in slow motion?
No.
Love it. Love it.
No. My number 10 song is Make Me by Janet Jackson.
Oh, yeah. I remember when that came out.
Number 9.
Warp 1.9 featuring Steve Aoki by the Bloody Beetroots. That song slaps. I run to it all the time.
My number 9 is Early in the Morning by the Gap Band. That's a funky song.
Okay.
Your number 8?
Blood on White Satin.
From the Smile 2 soundtrack.
Sung by Naomi Scott as Sky Rizzy.
That is probably in my top 20, if I could see my top 20. My number 8 is embarrassing. It's a song from Wyclef Jean's second album called D.A. Cypher. And it's like 4 artists on it, just like...
I don't think I know that song.
It's corny, but I like well, actually, I like all of their flows. Anyway, your number 7 song?
Electric Pussy featuring Ocean Kelly by Boy Radio.
Oh.
I really like that song.
My number 7 song is called You're the One for Me by a group called Ex-Girlfriend. And I know my sister listens to our podcast. They're a band from the early 90s, and they did a live performance once. One of the ladies who's part of the band is notable because she was on like X Factor or something like 23 years later.
Oh, yes.
And acted like she had never had a career.
That's right. That's how.
Yeah. And then she's also notable because she was there that night Whitney died.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. Okay.
Singing in that bar?
Yes.
Yep.
So, but anyway, that same lady on this particular song, she does like a high pitched, like one of those whistle register tones.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was obsessed with this group and recorded a live performance they did on VHS cassette. And during this performance, when she does that high note, she cracks. So it sounds like a teenage boy. And my sister and I would replay that and just laugh and laugh. So when I think the memory of my sister and I laughing at this live performance is what I always think of when I play this song. Anyway, your number 6 song?
Hearts on Fire by Marnie.
For a second, I thought you were going to say Hearts, Not Diamonds.
Oh, God, no.
Shout out to
Lauren Bacall.
My number 6 song is Right on Track by Breakfast Club. That's the song that Vanessa Williams samples on Running Back to You.
Mm-hmm.
And also, whenever I listen to this song at the gym, I imagine you and I are dancing together.
Oh.
Which is because the song is about him dancing with a person.
Oh, that's sweet.
So that's sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Your number 5 song?
Bad Memories, the Hot Lap remix.
God.
That was that was during the summer. I don't know. I think I'd forgotten all about that song and heard a strand of it. And then I think I was listening that back and forth to work on repeat for maybe 2 weeks, but I guess it was enough to land in my top 10.
My number 5 is Push and Wait by Ice Cube. He does use the F slur in that song, but I choose to ignore it. I don't want to believe that Ice Cube is homophobic, so it's fine for me. Your number 4 song?
It's a remix of Self-Control.
Self-Control.
Laura Branigan.
Oh,
Self-Control.
yes.
But it's by that Ika Klein and Lee Cabrera.
Sure.
After Maxine came out, I didn't love Maxine, but the trailer had that fantastic Self-Control cover, and I was trying to find that, and this was the closest thing I could get to it.
Oh. My number 4 song, I think, was my number 1 song of 2022. So I'm still listening to it. It's called Czar by Busta Rhymes.
Yeah.
Your number 3 song?
The Light is a Train by Vitalik.
Oh.
Pretty fun.
My number 3 song is On Our Own from the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack.
The Ghost. That.
And of course, Bobby Brown sings it.
Yes.
And so that's why he's my number 10 artist, because I really like the mix from the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack. The mix on his album, Don't Be Cruel, starts with the rap.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like it when it starts with the rap. I like it when it starts with him singing. So it's that specific.
I understand. I
you
totally
understand.
do. Mm-hmm.
You understand.
Mm-hmm.
Your number 2 song?
Pain by Boy Harsher.
My number 2 song is my number 1 song last year. It's Throw It Back by Big Frida.
Uh-huh.
That song, if I had ass to shake, I mean, I don't not have an ass, but if I could shake my ass and not throw my back out, this would be the song I would choose.
Okay.
And what's your number 1 song?
I Let Myself Go Blind by Compromat featuring Rebecca Warrior and Vitalik. I made you listen to that and you're like, oh, that sounds like something you'd like.
You know? Okay, my number 1 song is by Cheryl Lynn, and it's I've Got Just What You Need. And that's new for 2024.
Yeah,
I hadn't heard that song before, but I love it.
Yeah, it's been on in the car a bit.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. So we talked about Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, but now Justin Baldoni has hit back. He has filed a $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times, claiming they were reckless in reporting on him, saying that Blake Lively was, like, the allegations against him were reckless. And so he is suing them for $250. And the lawyer is citing that the Times cowered to the wants and whims of 2 powerful, untouchable Hollywood elites. Specifically, they mention an incident where the producers called a meeting at Blake and Ryan's New York City apartment the day before filming. Had to resume after the strikes, and that Ryan Reynolds launched into a tirade berating Baldoni and what Baldoni later described as a traumatic encounter, stating he had never been spoken to like that in his life. Baldoni claims that Ryan Reynolds demanded an apology for the fat shaming they're accusing Baldoni of, and that Baldoni resisted apologizing for what he had not done, which caused Ryan Reynolds to become further enraged. And then described the exchange as being inappropriate and humiliating, berating Baldoni.
I don't know that that's worth $250 million. You got yelled at.
Well, I think it's like these allegations,
clearly you made Blake Lively feel a certain kind of way, and you're directing her in a film with very sensitive materials. And if you're the director, to me, in my mind, that should be like, whoa, let's take a step back. I was misunderstood. I didn't mean that. I like where you're. I mean, I don't know. He frustrates me. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this will likely ruin his career.
I don't think he was right for that role. He reminds me of several actors that I don't know. There was something about his demeanor that drove me the wrong way from the get-go. But I don't know. Like, so this famous person that's married to your famous star, like, you're not going to, I don't know.
Well, you know, just because someone's not likable doesn't mean that they don't deserve a fair shake. And I
agree, but it's like they were there working together. So it's like, that's like if I went to the office and somebody's screaming at me, like, what? Let's take care of this now, you know?
Well, I think that, you know, he's a relative unknown compared to the star who's married to an even more powerful person. So, you know, maybe he felt like in this instance he had no power, right? But I don't know. I'm just reporting on it because we talked about the flip side a couple weeks ago, I think. But yeah, I mean, I'll say the same thing I said last time. Like, you know, for someone in this situation, it really sucks, right?
I agree. And I think that there's some pettiness too that contributed to everything.
Well, speaking of pettiness, you know Cheryl Hole from UK Drag Race and Global All Stars?
Yes.
So she has a podcast with another queen whose name I just forgot. But they recently did a podcast episode interviewing Fenton Bailey, one of the creators of Drag Race. and they were talking about how much Rue loved Tammy Faye Bakker. And then Fenton was saying, oh my God, she would have been such a great host and blah, blah, blah. And Cheryl says, oh, like better than Michelle Visage. And Fenton Bailey goes, I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but Michelle better be lucky that Tammy is not around. Meaning, like, if Tammy Faye were still alive, she would have been the judge, not Michelle Visage. So I thought that was interesting.
But Michelle was not a constant judge from the get-go. There was, what was that other lady's name? Merle
Ginsburg was the judge, but I read because Michelle Visage talked about this in her book, that she had a contract. She was doing radio for all those years. So when the show, that first season, she was offered the job and asked if like she could shoot while doing the radio show, and the radio station told her no, that they would fire her. So she didn't want to do that because it's like, I lose my gig like that. Because I think she said she was making like $100,000 a year, which is a lot of money.
If this show doesn't take off,
And if this show doesn't take off, now I just lost my job that takes care of my entire family.
Right.
So she couldn't do it. But once she fulfilled her obligation to the radio station and knew that RuPaul's Drag Race was going to keep going, that's when she hopped on. So,
but I mean, back when she used to have the podcast with RuPaul, it was clear that these two are not best friends. I mean,
well, it's interesting because what does best friend mean? It's like
he had no interest in being invested in her life, her personal life at all. He could never remember the names of her kids or what they were ever doing.
Well, but you think about, what about, like, let's say, like you or I ended up doing something where we had, like, I feel like the people who I've known the longest, I'd probably be similar with, like.
Flex your business with an American Express Business Gold Card. You'll earn 4 times membership rewards points on your top 2 eligible spending categories, like transit and electronics, each month, on up to $150K in combined purchases per year. Plus, you can now earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at AmericanExpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold, built for business by American Express.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
I think they get along well.
I think they get along well. Yeah. They've known each other forever.
Yeah, and it's time and circumstance, that's how that became cemented.
But I think RuPaul's memory and like probably having this larger, now RuPaul is so untouchable that it's like, I'm sure he's not calling Michelle curious about how her family's doing.
No, but that's not a very controversial statement. Of course, there were. Michelle Visage was not the first name that RuPaul was like, I want them to be my sidekick on this gig. No.
Or maybe, but then the producers were like, well, yeah. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Except that, Fenton Bailey seemed really excited about Tammy Faye Bakker.
Also, Tammy Faye Bakker.
Or Mesner, I guess she went by after.
I don't know that she would have been exactly stable either.
My last thing in this section is Walton Goggins.
Yeah, you like Walton.
I do. And he has a new line of eyewear. They're called Goggins goggles.
Oh, that's cute.
And they actually are really cute. They're intended for like active wear. So they look like those Ray-Ban shields or like those Christian Dior shields, but they're like, they have like straps so they stay on. And I thought that was kind of genius, like his name, Goggins goggles, and then they actually look really cool, and then he models them and he has a really interesting look.
Yeah, he does.
I think that from a marketing perspective, it makes sense, so I brought that up.
Good for him.
Okay, moving on to our new section, 5 Black filmmakers who are not Tyler Perry.
5 on the black hand side.
What do you have for us today?
Today I have Nia DaCosta. She's the first Black woman to direct a film that's earned over $100 million at the box office. So, of course, that makes Candyman, her 2021 sort of reboot, must watch if you've never seen it.
And remember, the first Black woman to direct a film that
had a budget of $100 million was Ava DuVernay with the Wrinkle in Time adaptation,
which was kind of a flop.
It was,
but I mean, Nia DaCosta's film was 2021.
Yeah, isn't that
that's crazy?
That's the first time. Okay, yeah. But of course, before that, she did a film that I also would recommend seeing called Little Woods with Tessa Thompson, which it feels much different, of course. And then she did that Marvels movie that I could not stand, but I don't believe that that's her fault because I don't think that you can really have creative control over those properties usually. But yeah. Next, I have Ernest Dickerson. You should be familiar with Mr. Dickerson first as a cinematographer because he shot all of Spike Lee's early films from She's Gotta Have It through Malcolm X, I believe.
He shot Malcolm X?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that was the last time he worked as a DP with Spike Lee. But he has since become a director of his own, of some renown. My favorite of his, of course, is the Tupac-led Juice. Excellent film. He's had some stuff that is like so but kind of fun, like Bones, starring Snoop Dogg and Pam Grier. But I think Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight, where you have Jada Pinkett as the final girl, if you will. I rewatched that somewhere in the past couple of years, and I think that one's a lot of fun.
Next,
Carl Franklin, who Criterion, I think this past year, reissued an early notable film of his, One False Move. Excellent. And I'd never seen that before until recently. But I've known who Carl Franklin is for a long time because of his adaptation of Walter Mosley's Devil in a Blue Dress, starring Denzel Washington.
Which we reviewed on the podcast.
Yes, Don Cheadle, Jennifer Beals. I think that's an excellent neo-noir. He's done...
Although I didn't like the blue dress. That blue dress,
Jennifer, sure, but it's still.
But it is an impressive film,
and I think Don Cheadle's.
He is very good in it as like the thug, like the crazy.
I think his name's Mouse in it.
Yeah,
and then of course, it wasn't a hit because Mosley wrote so many Easy Rollins books, and this would have been a fantastic character to have a whole kind of film series. But,
that's right.
It was not to be. He would go on to. I don't think he's directed a feature since, is it called Bless Me Ultima, back in like 2012, which I didn't love. It's an adaptation of a notable book, but he did some more mainstreamy stuff. He directed One True Thing, where Meryl Streep is dying of cancer, if you happen to see that film. But yeah. And what's the one he did that I like with Denzel? Is it Out of Time?
Oh,
I think that's pretty.
With who's the lady? Is it
Ava Mendes?
Or no? Is it Patton? Paula Patton? Yeah.
That I remember really liking that.
I recall finding it really engaging.
Yes.
Next,
Janicza Bravo, who I think has only done 2 features thus far. I remember really liking her first film, Lemon, which is. It feels like much more of an indie first-time feature, but Nia Long, I think, is kind of fun in it. But as you know, I loved Zola, which was in my top 10 of the year. Riley Keough and Taylor Page in that are a lot of fun.
And good old T.S. Madison.
T.S. Madison, Coleman Domingo, very good. And then the last person I have for you today, he's only, you might know him as an actor in some things, but he only ever directed one film. 1989, Chameleon Street, which I believe was a hit out of Sundance, and it's Wendell B. Harris Jr. And he plays such a smug asshole. It's kind of very similar to something like Catch Me If You Can, where he is this person running around impersonating all sorts of people and kind of getting away with it. And he has a lot of asides narrating that I think are priceless. But if you haven't seen that, definitely look up Chameleon Street.
Well, there you go. 5 more Black filmmakers who deserve more attention than Tyler Perry.
Yes.
I guess I am a goddamn hater. Moving on. So in the restaurant section, I wanted to talk about something I read about.
Okay.
So there was a
botulism.
There was a BuzzFeed article about one of the rudest dining habits ever that you might be doing.
Okay.
And so, of course, I clicked on it, and it's called ICE, ICE, which stands for invidious comparison eating.
Okay.
Which means that, or that's when a person indirectly asserts the dish they're consuming is lesser by listing the superior merits of another version, usually their own. So I thought that was interesting because I think a lot of people do that. Like, I mean, BuzzFeed has a whole series about like all those videos where it's like, Mexican mom, try other Mexican mom's pozole.
Oh, yeah.
Or black
that
moms,
one about
try other black mom's sweet potato pie.
where they were reading Rachel Ray to Phil for her pozole.
Or shit like that, yeah. Like that would be an example of ice. But I was in Mexico this past week, Mérida in Yucatán, and I was there to support a friend. And that friend, I was there with a person who I had to interact with. And they were exhibiting...
I think he was exhibiting a lot of behavior.
Of ice. So, yeah, that is interesting because a lot of people do that. And even my mom does it sometimes. But, and sometimes I think, why do you go out to eat then? Then why? If you're just going to complain about every little thing about this food.
But I mean, the rudity... To quote,
if you make up your own words, you can't be wrong.
The restaurant staff is aware that you're doing it because, or who is it rude to? Whoever you're eating with, or
your dining companions.
Okay,
because the other thing is like, well, I'm trying to enjoy my food. So you criticizing like it's also criticizing the food I'm eating. They all came from the same kitchen. It's just like, I didn't come here to. Now, you know me, I'll complain about some food if I don't genuinely like it. But I don't go to eat to just constantly gripe about how I can do this better. And
no, I genuinely want something that I couldn't make as well myself. Yes.
Yeah. So so Mérida is, I didn't know anything about it. It was much bigger than I thought. And it was a nice trip. It was relaxing, but they're known for their dining options. There are so many wonderful restaurants, and I ate at so many, and I don't want to spend time talking about all of them, but I thought I'd point out a few. So speaking of ice, I want to complain about my worst meals. So my worst meals were at the hotel buffet. And the only reason I ate there is because I booked through Orbitz, and then, Orbitz always gives you some little VIP thing. So when I checked in, the lady who checked me in said, "Oh, you have a voucher for some free food," like $1 amount, which covered the amount of the buffet, which was kind of expensive. So the first day I go, and the breakfast buffet is from 7 a.m. to noon. So I don't go until like 11:30 the first time. And I go, and I'm assuming I can charge it to my room and then settle up at the end with my little voucher. But they were like, "No, you have to pay now." And I didn't feel like running back upstairs, so I just paid for it. That buffet was horrible. The food tasted like it had been there all day. And then and then the mix of food didn't make sense because there wasn't a lot of, the only breakfast items there were eggs, potatoes, and the tiniest little flapjacks. The other 20 items were like lots of different meats.
Okay.
What's that one you really like? Pibil?
Oh, yeah. Conchinita pibil.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had that, which was actually quite good. So they had like maybe 10 different meats that all felt like, were these like from dinner last night that they just reheated? Like, this doesn't make sense for breakfast.
Could be.
Where's the bacon? Where's the... Then they had... I thought it was going to be sausage, and when I lifted up the lid, they were literal hot dogs that they had cut up into little, like the kind you get in pork and beans. So I was very unsatisfied. The coffee was terrible, all of it.
Ooh.
But then I still had this voucher, so I'm like, let me try again, but I'm going to go early because maybe I got like leftovers because I showed up so late.
That
and they
happens.
were like, "We're not trying to make all new shit 30 minutes before. We're just going to pull out last night's leftovers." So I show up the next day at 7 a.m., right when they open. I'm like the only person in there. And sure enough, it was the same shit. And it was expensive. Like compared to, I had nicer meals that were cheaper. Okay, but then going on, so now I'm going on to my favorite restaurant, which was, there are items that you think about, like whenever we bring up focaccia, you reminisce about the focaccia you had in
Boulder.
Colorado when you were high on weed. Or like the chimoltrufias at salsa a la salsa.
Yeah.
Or like that conchinita pibil at Paco's Tacos. This will be something that I think about for the rest of my life.
Oh, wow.
So the restaurant's called 130 Degrees, and it's this really nice steakhouse. And so I go with this friend, just the two of us, and I saw on the menu there was something called prime rib chicharron.
Okay.
So I thought, oh, that sounds interesting, but it was the most expensive. It was an appetizer, and it was expensive. It was actually more than the breakfast buffet. So I'm like, damn, that's kind of a lot of money for an appetizer. It was like 3 times the cost of all the other items on the menu. But I thought, oh, well, when am I ever going to try this? And then I thought I saw a server walking by with what looked like a big chicharron. Or remember when we were in Mexico City and on my mom's birthday?
Yep, I remember that.
Then I thought maybe it'll be something cool like that, which is certainly not worth
like
the
a
price.
chicharron sculpture.
Yes, but I thought, well, again, when would I ever get this? And you know I love chicharrones. So I order it, and chow, when that shit came out, I was shook. It was a huge plate, and the plate, there was a big layer, like it was all guacamole.
Okay.
But like really nice, fresh, like when you make it fresh. Like, and a lot of it, like a full plate. And on top of it was they took prime rib, like nice pieces of meat, not too fat, like the perfect amount of fatty, diced them up like as if it were orange chicken. They were kind of breaded, clearly fried a little bit or seared. And then they like a mountain of it on top of the guacamole. And that shit was so good. Then there was a baked potato on the menu that I ordered. And we got to the restaurant a little late. So we ordered it, and it took them quite a while to bring the food out because they were, I'm assuming, making it fresh. And I heard the server tell another table, oh, we're out of baked potatoes. And I'm like, how the hell y'all out of baked potatoes? Because he said, well, we have mashed potatoes if you want. And it's like, you can make mashed potatoes, but you can't make me a baked potato. But then I realized why. So they make these special baked potatoes that apparently cook all day. All day.
Sure.
So they are the kind, because you make baked potatoes a lot, and they're really good. And I thought those were perfect, and they are. I really like your baked potatoes. But these were like so tender. But the gag is they coat them in like queso salsa.
Okay.
But the queso salsa, it definitely had like a chipotle vibe to it, like Chipotle, the spice, not the restaurant. And it also almost tasted like maybe there was pumpkin puree in it.
Oh.
And then they must put that sauce on the potatoes like earlier in the day because the potato had soaked up all the flavor. The combination of that goddamn prime rib, like that seared, breaded prime rib on top of that super fresh guacamole with the baked potato. And then I rarely ever order martinis. But I had like a martini, and it was just like, I've never been so satisfied with a meal.
A nice meal, yeah.
So, of course, the next day I went back, had the same shit again. Then I tried to go again the third night, but they were like booked. I couldn't. I actually walked over there and said, I'll wait. And the guy's like, ain't no way.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he recognized me. He's like, I would seat you, but we have like, we actually had to like turn off our open table for the next 2 days because it's just been chaotic. So, and they're like super highly rated on Open Table. And I feel lucky that I got to go the 2 times. And honestly, there's a bar, like a gay bar restaurant in Fort Lauderdale that I think we went to on a very memorable trip many, many years ago. You and I took to Fort Lauderdale, where they still have it, this restaurant, gay bar, this chicken salad sandwich.
Oh yeah, I've heard about this a lot. Yeah,
that I would fly back.
You've gone back to get
I've gone to Fort Lauderdale just to get it because I thought it was so good. I would go back to Mérida just to go to 130 Degrees and get this damn prime rib chicharron. So that was my favorite thing. The most expensive restaurant we went to was something called Ariadna, and it was beautiful.
Ariadna?
Ariadna.
Like from the Greek, the spider?
Maybe. Maybe that is what it is. But the restaurant was beautiful. It was like this concrete paradise that had like this, like there were all these trees, and there was like I guess there's an aqueduct or there's a body of water underneath the city. So there are a lot of wells. So there were like wells and then like trees growing, and then this restaurant sort of built in concrete around it.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell like the rich people who live in this area eat here.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, I was very disappointed in what I ordered. Again, ice. I ordered this chimichurri flank steak with baked potatoes and Brussels sprouts, or mashed potatoes, because I was trying to still stick to Whole30 the best I could.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that shit was so expensive. And what came out, first of all, that plate was little, and the mashed potatoes, you know, like when a baby drinks formula and it spits it up?
Yes.
That's what it looked like. Like very liquidy, grainy. And I'm not being hyperbolic. If you took the plate and tilted it, the mashed potatoes would run down. That's how liquidy they were.
No.
And then the chimichurri sauce, I'm sure usually when you think chimichurri, you think it's like, it almost looks like pesto, like it's thick.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. That shit looked like, remember the oatmeal when you were a kid that came with the packet of jelly that you'd swirl on top?
Yes.
It had that look.
Okay.
Like it was fluorescent. Like,
green.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like nuclear green and super liquidy. Very small amount of that. Then the little piece of meat, they must have gave me like 3 ounces. And I asked for it medium because that's what they recommended. But because it was so small and it wasn't cut evenly, it was like the 2 ends of the piece of meat were like very well done. It was only the center that was medium. But the Brussels sprouts are what killed me. You make Brussels sprouts a lot.
I love Brussels sprouts, yeah.
So probably the ones that you usually buy are like medium sized, right?
Yeah.
So imagine the smaller ones.
Yeah,
that look like grapes.
Yeah, little one. Yeah.
Okay, imagine getting that plate and there were 2 of them cut in half. So I got 4 halves of 2 small Brussels sprouts, and then the presentation wasn't even pretty. And that plate was expensive.
You pay more to eat less. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I was like, wow. So when we left, I had to go get more food. I was still hungry. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Then for New Year's Eve, I was trying to eat as late as possible so I could just eat, go back to my hotel room and go to bed before midnight. So so I waited too late to try to book a reservation, couldn't find anything. The only place in walking distance was this restaurant called Agua de Mar. And it was kind of like on a side street, and the walk there, Mérida is considered to be very safe. So the walk wasn't sketchy, but it was kind of I walked like half a mile down this dark street with nothing open New Year's Eve. And then there's this like random restaurant open. And I walk in and it was beautiful. And there was a bartender, 1 server, and then the kitchen staff. The restaurant was stunning. There was an upstairs that was almost like an office building. Like it almost felt like your dining room table was like your office desk, and there were typewriters. Super cute. And I didn't realize it was a prefix menu. So I'm like, oh shit. Because I was trying to make better choices, but clearly there were no, like that's the only thing they were offering. So I went with it. And I have to say, I had a really nice experience at that restaurant. The server, he was the nicest guy. The prefix menu, I chose the turkey confit with, it said it was served with applesauce and mashed potatoes.
That sounds good.
Well, so the plate came out. The mashed potato situation was very similar to the previous restaurant. It wasn't as liquidy. The applesauce was actually, you know what it tasted exactly like? You know those cheap like Hostess pies that you buy?
Mm-hmm.
The one that's lemon filling.
Oh, I like that actually.
It actually tasted just like that.
Okay, interesting.
And I asked the guy, what is this? Because it's not just apple. And he's like, well, there's a lot of lemon. So it actually tasted, and it was sweet, like the lemon pie filling of those cheap Hostess pies. And turkey confit, I didn't know what confit meant.
Really? I've ordered duck confit with you.
Well, I've seen you order duck confit, so I thought I was going to get whatever I think duck confit is, but what it was turkey meatloaf.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, the consistency of the turkey was really good. It was almost like shredded beef. It was strange. And then it was wrapped in the skin of the turkey.
Sure.
And then fried. That shit was bomb. But it opened with what they called, and I thought this was so cool, they called it tomato salad of textures.
Okay.
And it was in English. I'm like, what the hell is tomato salad of textures? The base of this salad was this aged cheese that had been whipped to the consistency of whipped cream. So imagine, it tasted like, you know, that bar cheddar that comes in that tub that we will sometimes buy?
Yes.
Like that really sharp cheddar that's kind of whipped. Imagine if you took that and whipped it more like whipped cream. So then there's a bowl of that. On top of it are like Roma tomatoes or cherry tomatoes cut up. In the middle was like a big, what's the tomato you asked me to buy? Roma tomato. But it was like pickled and hollowed out.
Okay.
So it looked kind of weird, and it looked like there was something in it. So when you break it, like when you cut into it, it opens up like a poached egg, and inside of it was like a tomato soup. But that soup was served cold. So the textures are like this whipped cheese with like the tomatoes that are raw plus cooked, plus this really cold like tomato soup. And then underneath it were candied pecans. So the texture and the temperatures were wild.
That sounds really interesting.
It was really, really interesting. And then they served me a salad that was like, I ate it in 2 bites. It was like grapes with like romaine lettuce. And then the dessert was like a deconstructed banana split. So they took a banana and like made it like creme brulee, where they coated it in sugar and burned it. And the real gag was the ice cream. Cause I'm like, oh, I'm not eating dairy. You know, I'm trying to avoid dairy, but I'm like, I got to try this. And then after I eat it, the server, who spoke very nice English, he's like, how would you think of that ice cream? And I'm like, it was really good. And he's like, that's not dairy. It was like palmetto. It was like really,
okay.
It was super creamy, and it almost tasted like that salt and straw, like the blue cheese pear vibes. That meal was like, and then I ordered 3 cocktails. I paid like $50 for that meal.
Bad.
And it was like such a nice, and I was by myself. It was so nice. And then another one I wanted to shout out, because I just think it's so funny that there are so many restaurants in Mérida, and there are so many Mexican restaurants. So I was getting kind of tired of trying to find something to eat at a Mexican restaurant, because I was trying to avoid beans, rice, and tortillas. So I found this French restaurant, and it was like Saturday night. Every place was packed, but I found this French restaurant called Grand Lumiere, and they were totally empty. And I have to say, I really enjoyed my food. I got beef
bourguignon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is basically beef stew.
Oh, yeah.
But that shit was bomb.
Yeah.
With a really nice salad. And then I wanted dessert, and I'm like, well, what can I get that's like kind of reasonable? So I got a crepe with like fruit in it. That was lovely.
Love crepes.
So I would like to go back just for the dining.
Wow.
It was really nice.
It's much more exciting than my dining experiences while you were gone, because I did a bone broth cleanse.
Do you want to tell us about your bone broth cleanse? You were inspired by?
My mom and sister do it often, and then I've been making all this chicken soup,
Whole30 chicken soup,
and there's this broth that I've been using that I like. I'm like,
which is expensive. Like bone broth is expensive. I didn't realize that until I had to go buy some.
So I'm like, let me
shiver me timbers. That shit is expensive. But it's very high in protein.
Yes, and I did it for 2 days. And
how did you feel?
I felt great.
Well, the first day you were struggling.
Well, just when you can't have something, that you want, and it's.
Tell me about it.
Oh my God. But it felt good, but I was relieved by the third day when I finally ate solids again.
Well, you went all out, didn't you? Because didn't you go get your this new pizza you like?
I waited a day after that, and then the day before New Year's, I got a reservation at that Pizzeria C place that I liked, and I got 2 pizzas.
Dang.
And I got the one I knew I liked, their lamb, which is really good. And then I tried something that I wouldn't get with you because you don't like mushrooms. So I got their fungi pizza, which was okay. I think.
Did you eat both of those by yourself?
Not on the same night.
Oh.
Like across.
I would have not tried the fungi because not all mushrooms gross me out.
No, but I mean, I didn't. There was a flavor that was a little too strong with that one. But the last time you and I went, we got the lamb and the diavola.
I really liked the lamb and the diavola.
The lamb was, oh my God, I'm salivating.
Was it just as good the second time around?
So good, yeah. Oh. But you know the setup there. It's like I had a reservation and I still had to sit at that goddamn counter
where like the cooks are in your face.
Yeah, so thankfully I brought a book to read so I don't have to look at people.
Okay, but, Madonna.
I love that. I love going to places and reading, and it was nice.
Do you have anything else for us in the restaurant section?
No, because I didn't eat anything. I haven't had a dessert to eat since Thanksgiving.
Good for you. All right. Films released we didn't cover. Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul.
This is the latest to the Wallace and Gromit. I've never seen any of those.
I don't even know what this is.
It's if you looked at the images, the stills, you've seen this particular type of animation. I think it's Chicken Run was the first film.
Oh, you know what? Now that you're saying that, I probably do.
Yeah, and I never saw that or anything subsequent, but that came out on Netflix. Not that I wouldn't watch it. It's just we didn't.
Projects of interest. Christopher Nolan has something working.
He's doing
the works
version of the Odyssey, just like we need, but has lined up an all-star cast, including I believe Lupita Nyong'o and Anne Hathaway, and yeah, that's going to happen.
Recently on Patreon, we reviewed the film One Woman or Two.
Une femme ou deux.
Starring Gerard Depardieu. And a Sigourney Weaver.
And
Dr. Ruth.
Yes.
And Nick sponsored that review.
I did.
And he made it free to everyone. So if you're not following us, you can follow us for free on Patreon. And every now and then, we will bless the children with a review that they don't have to pay for. So it does, it is worth your while to become a free member on our Patreon. Unfortunately, there are several entries in the obituary section.
Yeah, a lot of people died.
Yeah. Charles Shire.
Yeah, Charles Shire. He was a director, screenwriter who used to be married to Nancy Myers. They have a daughter that is now a director, and but I think it used to be he was the director and Nancy was the screenwriter, and then I think they flipped the switch, and then of course ended up getting divorced. But he did the Father of the Bride remakes, several other hope. I think did he do Baby Boom with Diane Keaton or something of that ilk? Yeah, he's gone.
Olivia Hussey.
That was sad. I mean, I love Black Christmas, the original. She's also probably pretty well known for the Franco Zeffirelli directed version of Romeo and Juliet, which I remember having to watch in junior high. And she shows her breast mother. And of course, those teenage boys could not handle that. But yeah, she's gone.
Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated T for Teen.
To realize the future America needs, we understand what's needed from us. To face each threat head on. We've earned our place in the fight for our nation's future. We are Marines. We were made for this.
I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Angus Macinnes.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
I was going to say Macinnes, but
no, Macinnes. He's best known for a kind of a very much a supporting role in the first Star Wars, and I know he came back for Rogue One as well. But I think he was 77. He's gone.
And then Greg Gumbel died, who people should recognize on his own, but he was the brother of Brian Gumbel.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, but he was a longtime sportscaster. And, me growing up in the early 80s, seeing brown people on TV, especially like on the news, was a treat. And so I definitely recognized Brian Gumbel first, but then knowing that, because he and his brother look very similar, and they have those junior afros. So he died. And then Linda Lavin died, who we know from the TV show Alice.
Yes.
And I loved Alice, although I must admit that the character who I remember the most is Flo, who would say, "Kiss my grits."
Yeah.
But what else do I know Linda Lavin from?
God, she was in a judge in this John Boyega film we reviewed sometime in the past year or two that I didn't like. It kind of had a sci-fi angle. Maybe I'll think of it in a second.
And then, or lastly, Jimmy Carter, the 39th president of the United States, died at the age of 100. I always think about Jimmy Carter because when I was younger, my dad had a big coffee table book with all of the presidents up to, 1980 something, like up to Reagan, I think. But I remember I used to love to flip through it, and I was obsessed with asking people, like, who was the president when you were born? Like older people. So the president when I was born was Jimmy Carter. So I was always, like, that's my president, Jimmy Carter. No, my president's Barack Obama, but I still am very fond of Jimmy Carter.
I guess mine was Reagan. She was in Linda was in Being in the Ricardos, but the film that I was thinking of is Naked Singularity, starring John Boyega, which we have a review of, I believe.
Of like a YouTube review?
Yeah.
Oh.
We reviewed it.
Well, goodbye to these people. The secret film this week was your choice, and you chose the 2002 adventure romantic comedy Swept Away, directed by a Guy Ritchie and starring someone named Madonna. Do you want to explain why you chose this film?
Purely selfish reasons. One, I've never seen I'm a huge fan of Lena Wertmüller's original. Of course, I know of this remake's terrible reputation. I'd never seen the remake, and I'm currently have been assigned to write something about the film career of Miss Madudu, and so this is
for Spin Magazine.
For Spin Magazine. So this is something that I had to catch up with, and I thought, what better way to watch than to watch it with you?
Oh,
the third film directed by Guy Ritchie.
And what is his first film?
Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which is I remember really liking, haven't watched in years. And then Snatch, of course, was big.
And what's his most recent film?
I think we reviewed it, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh, with Henry Cavill.
Yes. And you know what? I think we both liked Wrath of Man with Jason Statham.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it's been a long time since I've liked a Guy Ritchie movie.
So like you mentioned, this film is a remake of the 1974 Italian film. What is Swept Away about? A snooty socialite is stranded on a Mediterranean island with a communist sailor. This movie was terrible. I thought it was terrible. And the worst part of it is Madonna.
The word you used while we were watching it is she's ruinous.
Oh my God. And I I mean, in this same podcast, I've said Madonna's my number 2 artist of 2024. I love Madonna's music.
Same.
But
well, for the most part,
we see, well, certainly her music from like the 80s to the early 2000s.
Yes.
But her acting career is interesting,
to say the least.
I think that, I mean, you can name 2 films where she's, pretty good in.
Yes.
A League of Their Own.
I like, yeah. And I like Girl 6.
Where she has a cameo.
It kind of extended. She's got several scenes.
But Madonna carrying a film, and then I think this character, it's so ironic because she's playing like a bitchy rich woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Madonna is probably close to this character. Like,
and she can't do it.
And she still can't do it. Like, she's basically playing like a version of herself and still can't. Because she acts like this in interviews, like she's, like very demanding and pushy,
pretentious,
but
snooty.
She makes it seem like she's kidding, but we know she's not because she's very powerful and rich and famous. Like, of course she's like that.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't get to where she is without being demanding. So it's so ironic that she failed so miserably at portraying someone who she should know very well. But the story is very simple. She and her husband and a group of friends take a private trip, like book one of those yachts for like a private cruise, like on holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very rich, her and her husband.
Played by Bruce Greenwood.
And she, Madonna specifically, has this antagonistic relationship with one of the crew members on the boat, played by Adriano Giannini, who is the son
of Giancarlo Giannini, who was the male lead of the original.
Right. So that's cool. His character's name is Giuseppe Esposito. Mm-hmm. And I hate how she says his name.
Hello, Mr. Esposito.
Well, you're saying it with more life.
Yeah. Just...
Hello, Mr. Esposito. Like,
just,
okay.
Oh.
But so they have this like hate relationship. And then one day she's like, she gets, she comes onto the deck of this yacht and she's like, where are my friends? And Giuseppe, who the other crew members call him Pepe,
mm-hmm.
but she calls him PP, which is kind of funny, mm-hmm. or Guido, which is so offensive.
Yes.
It's so odd for a story that's set in the 2000s.
Right.
But we'll get into it. Anyway, she goes up there and she's like, where are my friends? Well, they took the dinghy boat to go look at some caves. Well, I want to go. Well, I don't recommend you go because it's getting late. By the time we get there, it's going to be dark. The weather's, like the tide is different at this hour. I don't think it's a good idea. And she's basically like, I'm rich, you're poor. You do what I tell you, take me now.
Mm-hmm.
So next we cut to them on this little boat raft.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the middle of the ocean when all of a sudden the motor on the boat dies and they get swept away. And they end up like, oh my God, Madonna shoots a flare in the boat, which puts like it starts to sink, but then they see land, like an island. They swim towards it with the boat and they're on a deserted island. And we don't find out until the end that they were there for a total of 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
The way it seems like of course, in the beginning, they hate each other and now the roles have reversed because he has survival skills, she doesn't. But he kind of trains her to like be his servant. And then they end up, I don't know if it's like a combination of Stockholm syndrome. I don't know what it is, but she falls in love with him. And then they get rescued.
Mm-hmm.
And she professes his love to him, but he says, because she doesn't want to leave the island.
Mm-hmm.
Because they see a yacht, like a private yacht docked off this deserted island.
A yacht.
And he says, well, let's go get help. And she says, no, let's just stay here alone together. I love you. And he's like, no, bitch, if you really love me, you'll love me on the mainland with your rich husband. Like you need to tell your rich husband that you're leaving him to be with me. We're like in a bubble.
Yeah.
You only love me because I'm the only option.
We're in a situationship.
Right. So we're going to go get off this island and you can show me better than you can tell me.
You can show me love, Robin.
Yeah. So, you know what I just thought of? You were referring to Robin the Norwegians.
Yeah. I think she's Swedish.
But Robin S. has that song, Show Me Love,
she
the
does
90s
too,
dance
yes.
song. So my brain flipped up for a second. Anyway, of course they get off the island, and now Madonna is too chicken shit to tell her husband. And then to spoil the film for people who haven't seen it, there's one final opportunity for Madonna to like walk away with Pee or stay with her husband, and she chooses to go off with her husband. So the final scene is Pee standing on the dock, like,
yep,
like watching his love go away,
watching his gristle drift away.
Oh, where to begin?
Oh, well, again, if you still haven't seen the original, I love it so much.
Isn't there a similar movie that Goldie Hawn did that then her daughter redid, or
Overboard?
Isn't that kind of similar?
Not her own, Anna Faris, not.
Oh, I'm sorry, not Kate Hudson. But isn't Overboard kind of like this?
Well, it's about memory loss.
Oh,
but,
then no.
But also about kind of like this bitchy person that wants to put someone in their place and then ends up falling in love with them. But...
Okay, well then let me just go through my notes. So Madonna's acting in this. I think it doesn't... Okay, what don't I like? I think that... I haven't seen the original, but you would think the script is so basic because it's clearly trying to show the disparity between this rich group of people and this crew who are,
well, it's class and gender roles,
but they only explored a little bit, and it's so on the nose because they're having a conversation about capitalism, and then we hear what Madonna thinks, which is like, well, I live in a country where this is what we do, and like, why wouldn't I want to be rich? And like, if people don't want to buy my shit, they shouldn't. And then we get Pee basically saying like that socialism is what he believes in. And so it's so on the nose. And then that's it. We really, besides Madonna calling him Guido, and then she keeps calling him a hairy black like midget.
Yes.
Which is so crazy
because he's Sicilian, so they're darker Italians.
No, and I'm sure within that culture they might refer to them like that, but for her to refer to him like that,
it feels weird for an American woman to be drawing those distinctions, whereas like, they're both Italian in the original, and then they would be probably realistically much more contentious. But why would she for her to call him black is like okay. So besides that, it just feels like this dynamic is a little too like basic. And then Madonna, I hate the way the film looks. I don't like the cinematography. Which is funny. Because Guy also, Ritchie, had directed her in a short film, but also he, infamously directed the What It Feels Like for a Girl music video, remember?
Yeah. Oh, that was him?
Yeah. But it's that and this film have the same cinematographer, Alex Barber.
Oh, the camera work, the green screen. It just is like, ugh. Madonna, her look, she's so like sinewy, and like the makeup.
For one of her first lines, like, I'm not going to get on that boat unless it's equipped with the gym. Like, okay.
It's just like, man,
she looks severe.
She looks severe. It like the makeup, the lighting, it's just all too much. And then her hair being blown back looks terrible. As the story goes on, she kind of comes forward a little bit, and then that works a little better.
The way her hair seems originally, I was getting like Sophia Loren in her 60s, or Julie Newmar at the end of Tu Wong Fu.
Yes, and it's just not flattering on her. But I hope people know the reference. But Madonna was giving me Evie from Girls Will Be Girls.
Yes, Jack Plotnick.
Jack Plotnick's character. I mean, it's camp. Madonna in this movie is camp.
Every line that comes out, every line like falls like lead. She cannot seem, what's the word I'm looking for? Authentic in any way. Like even in the most like throwaway line, it just falls flat at your feet.
I think that she's not able, and I'm not saying Madonna's a bad actor, but in this movie, it just seems like she didn't know how to bring the dialogue to life.
I don't think she's never known how to not be herself is the problem. And that's why I think she works really well in a cameo, but not as a lead character, because I think, and then, speaking, Because this film, she was married to the man directing it, and much like Shanghai Surprise from earlier in her career, I think that she doesn't. I think that she has a hard time sublimating herself, especially when she's working with somebody that she's in love with. Is what I'm thinking.
Referencing Sean Penn and
Shane Pencil.
Well, and then at this point in Madonna's career, I mean, she's like a triple A list. Like, who's more famous than Madonna at this point? So it's like, yeah, how do you direct? And then I'm sure because it's her husband, she probably had input on like the character and
well, and then he's never done anything like this since, and I don't know why he thought this was something he should direct and not produce. Say,
well, to call it a romantic comedy, it's not. I don't know. I can see the attempts at comedy and they're kind of cringe. I will say, so I didn't mention any of the supporting cast. We have Elizabeth Banks.
Yes, fresh faced. Mm-hmm.
Jean Triplehorn. Mm-hmm. And I thought that Bruce Greenwood, to be honest, I think everyone is okay to me except Madonna.
Yeah, they're all just fine. I don't think they get to do anything really great. What's his name? Adriano Giannini, I think, is fine.
He's fine. Yeah, he's fine.
The thing is, his dad worked quite a few times with Lena Wertmuller, and there was something always kind of off kilter and crazed about Giancarlo. Like there's a wildness to him that I don't think Adriano has.
I think Adriano was really trying to seem like that, and it comes across like I mean, I guess it seems like a hacky reference, but it almost is like when a boy puts on his dad's suit.
Yes,
it kind of feels like that.
Yeah, it's kind of ill-fitting, but again, compared to her, it's like, this is great. Give me more him.
Oh, we got Al Pacino in this bitch compared to Madonna. Okay, so the romantic comedy part, I think. Examples of where I think they're trying to be funny. There's a sequence where, because Madonna is just being so vile to Pee-Pee. Like, he can't do anything without her complaining and yelling at him. And at one point, she's complaining about the food, and Pee-Pee grabs her plate of pasta and dumps it on her head and throws her overboard. And then we find out that he's just daydreaming. And it's like, okay, I can see what they were trying to do, like to make it funny, but it just doesn't read. It was kind of jarring. Like, oh, this is happening. And then when you realize it's a dream sequence, like, okay, I guess that was supposed to be funny. It didn't really work for me.
No.
Madonna smoking. I think those cigarettes should get a credit in like an acting credit, because the amount that lady smokes, which is so crazy considering that she's also very concerned about her skin and her fitness. It just, I don't know. It's a choice. I think we needed a woman who was, who I'm thinking could have done this? Like a Gina Gershon.
Kind of this brittle, bored woman.
But sexy and and rich, could look rich and spoiled. And a little insane, like mean.
Yeah.
Oh God! And then the poor captain. I feel like.
Oh, Yorgo Voyages. Yeah.
Okay, so here's a plot. So two things that don't work for me related to the plot. So we understand that Madonna's character, her dad ran a pharmaceutical company. So we understand that she comes from a lot of money. So why is she acting like the rich man's wife? She is a rich man.
Exactly.
So why is she?
Like Madonna, yeah.
It's not like, what's that movie with Julia Roberts, Sleeping with the Enemy? Or like, she is a rich man married to another rich man. Why is she acting like she has no agency? She keeps talking. She tells her husband, like, tell him to do what I say. What? You're clearly not shy, and you also are rich. I just didn't understand that. Then, Pee-Pee, we learn that he doesn't even want to work, right?
Yeah, he doesn't. He wants to live off the fat of the land, yeah.
But he needs money, and that's why he took this gig. So the ending, when he's offered a reward, because they all think he saved Madonna, he doesn't want the money. He throws it away. But then he picks it up,
And goes and buys a ring.
And then he walks into a jewelry store, which drove me crazy. And he goes to the sales clerk, what can I buy with this? Which was like, are you a kid?
Well,
and then she picks out a ring.
That's the thing. He's kind of a loser in this world and society. He's kind of a loser and very inept, and that's why there's supposed to be kind of some kind of powerful feeling evoked when she's like, our love can't survive outside this island.
Can't survive half Moon Street
with a half Moon Street. Yeah, no.
But at the end, when she chooses her husband over him, he throws that ring, which is the value of all the money in that big duffel bag. He throws that in the ocean.
Well, the ring don't mean a thing, right?
Listen.
Isn't that Kim
Zolciak? Well, I think it does because recently, she's having financial problems. I think that
now the ring do mean a thing.
She should, yeah. Anyway,
return that ring.
If his character needed money, that's why he's on this damn boat. Why is he acting like he doesn't want the money and then he throws it away? Also,
fool.
Oh my God, I found him so annoying.
Yeah, he is.
Mm-hmm. Then the captain with the cook and all those interactions where they're not like, where is the social commentary? Because they're not even, the only thing the captain is saying is like, well, I'm used to dealing with rich people. You just got to smile and just remember that you're getting money.
And they're all the same. Yeah.
And they're all, and
they play games.
And the entire, the staff is comprised of 4 people. Mm-hmm. The 3 of them are all like, F these people. We're just doing our job. We don't care. It's Pee-Pee who's like upset. And then at one point, who finds the bag of drugs?
The captain.
And then the captain, I thought one of the funnier parts was the captain wants to do the drugs. Mm-hmm. And Pee-Pee has to tell him, you're the captain of this boat. You can't be high. Mm-hmm. And then Pee-Pee takes the bag like he's going to do it, but then drops it in the ocean. Like, ugh, you're so stupid. Another funny line is once they get on the island, Pee-Pee is acting up. Mm-hmm. It was giving me
Triangle of Sadness.
Yes. Mm-hmm. What's her name? The lady we met for dinner?
Daisy De Leon.
Yes.
Is that her name?
Her character in Triangle of Sadness.
Dolly De Leon.
De Leon. We met her. They had a dinner. We were invited to meet her at a Filipino restaurant.
Which was a B.
And that restaurant was a B grade.
I think they've elevated. I would have to go by that sometimes, and I think they're back to an A.
Wow, we ate B grade Filipino food. Well, actually, it wasn't that Filipino.
No, because it was they had different food than what was on the menu catered for the event.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, well, why have it? That felt weird to have.
It was very weird.
That would be like if some publicist hosted a dinner for Alfred Woodard at a soul food restaurant, mm-hmm. but then they served Mexican food. Like, what was the point?
Remember, and that one homosexual that sat by us, and then we didn't acknowledge him for 2 minutes, and he got nervous and ran away.
Or that one black lady who I see at screenings, who I'm not going to say her name because I think people recognize her. Mm-hmm. She walked up to me and goes, "Who are you?
Yeah.
What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm not a journalist." And she looked at me and turned around and walked away.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't say hi. Didn't.
That's why I am friendly with 0.1% of the other journalists here in Los Angeles that I see at these chicken shit gigs, because
big mistake. Because one day, because I'm Patti LaBelle and I have the memory of an elephant when it comes to things I don't like.
That's true. And I just have a really good memory. So it's like, I see all you.
No, I mean, I don't know.
Whatever.
Who wouldn't have a problem with me? No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway.
So another funny moment is they get on the deserted island, sorry. And Pee-Pee is on his Triangle of Sadness bullshit and making Madonna do all kinds of shit, rub his feet, wash his clothes. He gets naked at one point, which this is a rated R movie and they don't even show his butt.
You do see his butt when lying in the sand at the end.
You're right. Yeah. We do see his butt. You get one butt pic. But anyway.
But it's Guy Ritchie who's homophobic. So.
Oh, true.
Are you.
So I'm not surprised, I guess. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Madonna is getting mad and she's like, "I'll have you arrested." And he goes, "By whom? The sand police?" The sand police line. I was laughing for a minute. I don't know why. Because for some reason I thought of Dune and the sandworms.
Oh, sure.
Which made me think of Flash Gordon and the boar worms, which made me think of T.S. Madison and Katya talking about the boar worms.
Tim Burton and the
and then Beetlejuice.
I thought it was highly amusing the amount of times he gets to kick Madonna.
Oh, I am so glad you brought that up because I actually took count. So I actually counted.
Is it 4?
No.
It's more than that?
I wrote down, you know it's bad when I don't feel bad for a woman who's been hit 10 times. He hits or kicks this woman 10 times. And I was like, you know what? Sometimes a bitch got to get hit.
I don't condone abuse, physical abuse. But
and I don't either. But sometimes, and I felt like, this character is a problem when that man slapped the shit out of her or kicked her like he was kicking rocks 10 times. 10 times. It's bad that I kept track. Like, I hope he gets more licks in because she is so annoying. Okay, maybe the craziest scene in the movie is, which was giving me Joker Folie à Deux vibes, is at one point Pee-Pee's telling Madonna, because he's still on his bullshit before they've fallen in love, that he wants her to sing him a song.
Oh, God.
And so at first, she starts off kind of like how Lady Gaga in Joker Folie à Deux is pretending like she can't sing. And so she's kind of, but then she doesn't want to sound too bad. But then we all know Madonna can't sing.
She still doesn't sound good.
So then at first she starts off acting like she can't sing, which had me, in my mind I was howling, like not Madonna trying to sing like she can't sing, which sounded like cats having sex.
Yeah, it was caterwauling.
It was like hard to listen to. But then he goes, no, like sing for real. So then she starts singing that Della Reese song, Come On in My House. And so then she starts singing for real. But then she's singing like how she can sing, which is not very well. And then we get into this fantasy sequence of Madonna in this really pretty yellow dress, and her hair did look nice, where she's dancing like a crazy person.
She looks insane. And then we hear Della Reese's voice while she's lip syncing, and that felt very strange.
I thought that was just a really odd moment. Okay, so then we get to, by my count, day 4, and now she's his love slave. So he has we get a really uncomfortable scene where it looks like he's about to sexually assault her, and then right as he's about to rip off her undergarments
in the sand,
and
that friction is going to hurt both of them.
Well, and then sand gets into crevices that are not comfortable. But anyway, right as it seems like he is about to assault her, which I would say that he already had assaulted her. He goes, "I'm not doing anything. I want you to want it." Okay, good.
And then she said she gives her consent.
And then we see that same day she becomes his love slave. And the continuation or the passing of time is not oh no, I'm saying that wrong because someone clocked me. It's not well established.
Correct.
So by my count, by day 4, she is fully his love slave. By day 1, she is saying she's starving. Like, but that's after she had thrown away a fish, saying like fasting's good for you. This character makes no sense to me, but not in a ridiculous way. Like I'm a rich woman who's like not accustomed to
impossible to deal with.
Right.
Yeah.
She just comes across as kind of crazy to me. So Madonna one day is by herself, or at one moment is by herself and sees a boat, and then she's about to call it and then hides. So that's when we first get the understanding that she likes her life on this island better. Then we get this weird scene where they're in it's supposed to be a deserted island, but there's like a shed on the island.
Somebody has been on this
clearly
island.
Someone's been there. But there's some alcohol in there, some old alcohol, and they start drinking.
And then play charades.
And what's the alcohol that killed that man in that movie? What's the movie?
Nightmare Alley.
Yes.
Yeah.
What did they call it? Like wood liquor?
There was wood, yeah.
Wood alcohol. They started drinking this wood alcohol and they played like drunk charades. I thought that was like,
I hated that.
Oh my God. Well, especially Madonna doing it was like, okay. and then the characters she was acting out were Charlie Chaplin and Jesus Christ. Like, okay.
She had Popeye in there as well.
So it's not until they get rescued that we realize, oh, you've been on the news for a month. So they've been out there for a month.
And there have not been helicopters.
Also, Madonna's roots would not indicate that she has not had her hair retouched in a month.
Why is there makeup? Why is there curled hair?
Why does this lady have a full face of makeup? And clearly her hair hot tools have touched it.
Well, in her
that really bothered me.
Her eyelashes as well.
That really, really bothered me. But again, the cinematography, I think there could have been a way to shoot this film such that this, sinewy pop star in her 40s didn't have to look her worst, but also not have to look like her glam squad also was on the deserted island.
Right.
It's just so it was just not a fun experience.
Again, she's not willing to sublimate herself for a role like that. It's just, and then this is clearly a role where you would need to do that, because this is a narrative where it all depends on us believing this switch in the dynamic twice, where they come to feel something for one another. And I think that's what makes the original so powerful. And again, I haven't watched the original since before we've been together, so it's been a long time. But the thing that stayed with me from the original is what's her name, Mariangela Mulatto. She falls so hard for this man on the island that she's like, I have nothing to give you. I've given away everything about myself already. The only thing I haven't given away is like my anal virginity, and I want you to take that because I want, when you fall in love with somebody, that's a gesture that people think about, these kind of extreme impassioned gestures. And that has always stuck with me from that movie, that this woman does that or wants to do that. And there's nothing that comes anywhere close in this version.
So when they finally come back to civilization, Pee-Pee walks into a bar and he...
looking for company, a little sympathy. He tried to find a friend.
And the bartender or the barkeep knows him.
Mm-hmm. Like, hey.
But then the barkeep goes, oh, where were you? What? You know this man who's been on the news for a month being lost at sea, and it's like global news?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was insane.
Yes.
That the guy acted like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. What? Mm-hmm. And we're in a bar where they have TV playing. That drove me crazy. So the only moment in this film that had any tension to me was she gets a call from Pee-Pee.
Mm-hmm. At the hotel.
With her husband. Mm-hmm. And so she has to kind of discreetly take the call. And he's like, I love you, please. And she goes, okay, leave notice for me at the hotel and tell me what to do and I'll do it. And you can tell that her husband knows something's up because she's kind of crying on the phone and he's at a distance.
But meanwhile, those two are not talking at all.
Not a single word.
Like, how are you? You've been
not even how are you?
Yeah.
Not even how are you? Isn't that crazy?
What'd you do on that island with that man for a month?
I'm
nothing.
Assuming that it's supposed to show how distant they are, but so the problem, before I even get to what I was going to say, I think that the opening should have shown the dynamic of their relationship more accurately.
Yeah.
Like how unhappy they are. Yes, it's clear that they're unhappy, but they're unhappy in that way that's like, oh, two people who are married and it's just like, you drive me crazy.
Well, but it's like, what does it mean to him if she left him?
Right.
Would he be left high and dry?
The way they interacted at the beginning, I thought that he was probably, he was thanking his lucky stars that lady got lost at sea. Right. He was probably having a party every night.
Mm-hmm.
So why the hell is he mad that she wants to leave him? Okay. So I thought the only moment that had tension is Pee-Pee does write a note and go to the front desk and tell the front desk agent, this lady, like, here's some money, give this note to
Amber,
the blonde lady, but make sure she's not with her husband. And then she puts the note in their mailbox, like back when those hotels had little mail slots. Mm-hmm. And he goes, no, put it back further so no one can see it. So one morning, Madonna wakes up and her husband is not in bed. So she runs downstairs in her robe and asks if there's a note. And right as the attendant's going to grab it, the husband walks up. Mm-hmm. So then she knows, like, play her position and pretend. But then as Madonna walks away, the husband knows something's weird, that his wife's down there. And then he sees, because he's taller, he can see that there's something in there. And that's when we realized that what was in that note or in that envelope was the ring he bought and a note.
Mm-hmm. To meet him at this pier at such and such a time.
That was the only moment that gave me like something I needed. But then again, like you said, there's no...
Well, to me, the tension is I feel bad for the front desk clerk that's got to deal with these crazy rich people's drama.
Right. You wrote, but I worked at a front desk with rich people, and That's the kind of shit you know. But anyway, so then Madonna and her husband are about to leave on a helicopter, and as the like valet is about to close the helicopter door, the husband goes, "Oh, here, give this guy the tip," and he hands her the envelope with money underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
So she clearly knows that he found the note.
Mm-hmm.
And so she passes it and starts crying. And the note says, "Give this to the guy on the boat at the end of the pier."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he knew because in the note it said
Yeah.
Mimi. Okay, sorry, that didn't make sense. It did make sense. But then the guy, the valet, runs to the end of the pier, gives it to Pee-Pee, and then he chases the helicopter like an action movie, like he's going to jump on the rail.
And it all becomes the convincing element is that the blonde woman handed me this note to give to you.
Yes, because he goes, "Who gave you this?" The blonde woman. "That's impossible. It was her husband." He's like, "No, the blonde lady gave it to me." So then he's really hurt. So when the helicopter takes off, Pee-Pee's at the end of the pier, and that's when he throws the ring into the ocean. I was embarrassed for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really, dude?
Yeah.
Where was this? You love her?
Her, yeah.
Again, I just don't understand why a plot point was made that she is rich. And she's such a nasty, controlling woman, but doesn't have the courage to leave her husband.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like it's not provocative. And also so the ending of the original, is it the same ending?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then that's even worse. Like, so why would you remake this movie and not do something different? Why not update it? Like,
somehow.
I mean, they did. I'm sure they made some changes, but it's like, why not make it? Even if she doesn't go with him, I feel like she should have. I would have loved a moment. I mean, after watching Baby Girl, like maybe
where we see her make this decision herself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When she realized, I mean, it would have been the better ending and not so predictable. Like, we're going to do the opposite. Is she tells her husband how she really feels,
mm-hmm.
but then
and
also
it still goes with him.
But still goes with
yeah.
him. But it's
mm-hmm.
like, yeah, but so you're going to, get right. Like,
mm-hmm.
if you want us to stay together, we need to figure this shit out. But of course, it's insane that I would leave you in my marriage to be with this.
Or where she gets, a scene with Giuseppe where it's like, in the real world and in reality, like, I can't be with somebody that acts the way you do.
Right. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's swept away.
Oh.
I know people, I mean,
Madonna's last time in a film.
Yeah. I'm sure people like this movie, but
I don't know. I think it's pretty. Yeah, I'm sure there's some contrarians, but I don't believe it's good at all.
What would you give this version?
1.5.
It is not successful, in my opinion.
And Lena Wertmüller was mad.
Yeah, she said, what did she say after she saw it?
Why did they do this to my film?
Why did they do this to my film? I mean, I'm a team, what's her name? Lena
Wertmüller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give this film 1.5 out of 5. I think it's like all those people who say, I love Marilyn Monroe, she's my favorite, and they can only name one movie.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. You gotta know.
I wonder how many people who say they love Madonna have seen all her films.
Oh.
But I mean, if you're a huge Madonna fan like I am, then of course you should watch it. And I think you'll be amused, but anyway. I think there's stuff happening next week, of course.
Yeah.
And we might, yeah.
What?
Well, I'm a little off because we're not recording this on a normal day. So I was going to give an update that will have already happened probably by the time this comes out. So It won't make sense. But that's all I have. Anything else?
No.
Ta-ta.